I find it kind of funny that before Mandalorian was released, we all thought Mandalorian is gonna be a show that's basically Boba Fett but under a different name. Well, it turns out to be very different, and we realize that in Mando Season 2, when we see the two characters side by side, they are indeed very different character. And now that we have a Boba Fett show, we can see that these two shows, while they are very similar, the characters are indeed very different, and also the vibe, how they treat the world, where they are in this chaotic post-war kind of universe, are different. At the same time, the two shows still feels very similar, probably because the production team are the very same. We can see that the whole episodes are still structured in the very same way, starting from how the title cards are shown and the ending are credits, and also if we look at some of the names and teams, they are indeed done by the same production. This brings up the idea of this is technically a spin-off of the Mando show, but it doesn't really feel like a spin-off that we usually know. A lot of times when a show wants to do a spin-off, they're like, okay, these characters are fun, so we kind of put monies into it become another show and hope people like it. And usually they have different group of people making those shows. But in this case, the Boba Fett show is a tightly tied in connection from the Mandalorian show that basically it's a season 3, but since we're not focusing on the Mandalorian the character, we can't call it Mandalorian, so we're calling it Book of Boba Fett. It's the same universe, it's very tied in. I have no doubt it probably will have effect in the following Mandalorian storyline. It will probably have effects here and there in the whole universe, so we'll see about that. I do appreciate this type of storytelling that it is technically still the same show, but a different show, if you get what I mean. The whole episode 1 is giving me a feeling that they are trying to set up for something that's very character driven, but it also makes me feel a little bit lost. Comparing to the first episodes of Mandalorian Season 1 and Season 2, I feel like I am more excited watching those two than this one. Probably because there isn't much revealed to us right now. I'm not saying I didn't like it, I'm still waiting to see. The fun of having so many limited series now is that we can see the whole show is actually a prolonged movie, that we need a whole 8 episodes to judge a show. I am thinking that this might be one of those cases, and I'm waiting to see. But for Mando Season 1, at the end we have the Baby Yoda revelation. And for season 2, we have the Boba Fett revelation, but also the whole episode is just very exciting and very promising with a lot of action, a lot of storytelling. While this one, it's a little bit odd choice to be an first episode because it definitely feels like a beginning to something. It is definitely a setup for first episodes, no doubt. We start from the beginning, we start from the Tatooine. I mean, the first time when he was trapped, then we also have right now the current story timeline. We have those two going on and setting up the scene that how our character can develop in this place and time. But at the same time, it doesn't make my blood boil in the way that Mando has made me feel. It can be a little bit lack of action, even though we do have some action scenes here, or it might be just lack of story. It's true that until this point, we don't really have a story premise going on. Right now, we mostly have is a setup. I feel like the flashback sequence have actually more story than the current timeline. But while they might seem fractured, both timelines are settled around one word: respect. In the current timeline, it's more laid out to us, it's more clear that he said, I don't want to rule by fear, I want to rule by respect, I want to earn that respect. And that's exactly what he's doing now. He is trying to, well, if someone doesn't pay him tributes, he just say, okay, fine, but I'm gonna insult you as well. And he want to walk anywhere he wants to, and he try to avoid violence as much as he can, which is interesting. It's a little bit different than I expected from Boba Fett, but maybe if this is the direction they're going for, I'm here for it. The fact that he feels like he needs to earn respect of everyone here to rule this place, to become the crime lord that he proclaimed to be, is a cool idea that he might run into a lot of trouble because not everyone is gonna buy into that idea. And when we go back to the flashback to when he first get out of the monster, it is clear that he has suffered a lot, but still he wants to get the respect of the Tuscan people. Like when he finally defeated the monster in the sand, and he's like, I have the tools and I have the weapons in my hand. I have the power to kill you, but I'm not going to. I'm going to have you have a glory, and I'm going to have your respect and have everyone here respect. He could easily have revenge, but he decided not to. That's an interesting idea to me because he was treated as a slave. He was denied water, yet he suffered and he like swallowed like the anger. He might see that as a long-term plan because as we know, anger never really solved a lot of things. But if he can suffer through that, it might be better to have allies than enemies in this chaotic world. I wonder if the Tuskens were gonna see more of that side of story and if they're gonna come back to the present timeline to have some interaction with them. As we see, the Tusken has tried to work with people in season 2, episode 1 of Mando, and of course, this is set after that, so I wonder if there's gonna be something about it. I like how the production from Mando season 1 to now, how they dealt with the subject of Tusken people, because they are ruthless, but they are not portrayed as monster. They are not just creatures. They have their own culture and their own language and everything. And yes, they are also native to this planet. So it opens up a lot of possibility that we didn't see before. And I'm very grateful for their decision to make these people more reasonable in the recent shows. What I really like about this episode, it definitely uses the creative show don't tell. There are overall very little dialogue in the whole episode, especially the flashback sequences. So we sometimes have Boba Fett murmuring the words either to the other people, try to negotiate, or to himself, but generally it's full with action and full with storytelling that way. So that's cool. Although I do not like the parts at the beginning was very, very, very dark at night. It's just so dark, I can't even see things. Like, story-wise, I can understand that it's a desert at the night, there's no light at all. So it's supposed to be dark, but I feel like there can be tricks in filmmaking to make it slightly brighter. At least I can see anything beside my own reflection in the screen, you know? So I kind of didn't like that part, mostly because how dark it is, and I feel like I have to really focus to see something, some movements on the screen. Maybe it's better for like the movie theater, but this is a show released on Disney Plus, and people are gonna watch this any time of the day. Even if the sun is out, someone will watch it, and they should consider how bright it is. There's another thing I'm kind of confused right now, not angry about it, just confused about how strong is Boba Fett here. I feel like he is weakened to have space for his growth because all shows are essentially about character growth, right? There are 2 fight scenes in this episode, the one in present time and on the street, and the other one in a flashback with the sand creature that I don't think we've seen before. If we've seen before, please let me know. That was a really interesting design, and I want to applaud the creature department for creating such a great creature in the sand and with 6 legs, and yeah, it's just kind of insane to see. But the first one, he is essentially weak and powerless, surrounded by people on the street, and he was saved by the 2 Trandoshan that follows him around. And the second fight feels more powerful because it is about him reclaiming his power when he's being slave, when he's being captured, when he's out of water. He still has a power to fight that creature and conquer it, killed it. So it's a little bit imbalanced just because I know that the first fight actually happens way after the second fight. So I don't know if there are some great damage that he went through that makes him need to lie in the backpack tank like once in a while, and whenever he takes a lot of damage, like the time on the street, he's just like, okay, take me to the tank, you know, that kind of thing. Or is it just like a residue effect from the whole time that he was beaten down, he was trapped in the creature? Because we can see that he is pretty scarred in the flashback, and right now his skin is much smoother. Looks great. Also, I've learned that they reshoot the flashback at the very beginning with the young Boba Fett holding like the helmet. That was a reshoot scene with like a body double, which is very curious to me. I know that there are some new shots from over the shoulder or something, but like I was more thinking about, is this necessary? Why do we need a new shot? I mean, it's cool, but was it necessary? Just wondering. I also want to know if that's gonna come back in another episodes to have a little bit more scene. Maybe that's why they have this reshoot. But if only for an over the shoulder shot, then it's kind of weird, I would say. But I definitely admire the effort that went through to make that shot look like it belongs to the original movie. If you don't know the movie shot by shot, you would be like, yeah, that's just taken from the movie, but it's not, it's a reshoot. Who knows? The theme music is also interesting in a way that basically like the show is similar to the Mando, but it's also very different in a way that, well, I can clearly see it's from the same artist, and it has a Western longing adventure kind of feel. But comparing the two, I feel like the Mando is more focusing on the Western feel, and Boba Fett music actually reminds me of a more of the fantasy side. You know, a lot of like the Lord of the Ring kind of feel, that kind of epicness. Comparing to that, one is more like one person alone, lone wolf with a baby Yoda adventuring in the West. You know, that kind of different feeling. Throughout the episode, I didn't really pay much attention to it, but during the art credit scenes, there's the male chorus voices joining, and that makes the music to a different level. Really brings out the heaviness of like the voice are also an instrument, and it's a very strong emotion instrument. Whenever the chorus are used, it shows a different side of music, especially for characters in music. So that's a cool choice. I wonder if that aspect is gonna also be somewhere in the future episodes, like in the episode in the story we're gonna see the chorus voice coming in, or is it only reserved for the end credit scenes? One word really caught my attention is a daimyo. I'm sure I pronounced that wrongly, and I googled that. Apparently, that's a Japanese word meaning some sort of a lord that answers to a higher power. So they are basically saying he's crime lord, but also this title. The whole way Boba Fett is dealing with the title of crime lord reminds me a lot of royalty. Like we see in those period drama, how they get dressed piece by piece, and like the maids put a dress on them, that scene when he was like standing there putting up the armor, the jewels, helping them, reminds me a lot of royalty. And also when he's holding the court and people were like giving tributes, that doesn't exactly feel like crime lord. Crime lord associated with murder, with torture. But he is like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going that path. I want respect, and I'm gonna treat myself with respect. I don't know if that's gonna work well with Tatooine, but we'll see. So yeah, that's basically my review for this episode. Thanks for watching, and thank you for support for my transformation from the reaction videos to only reviews. I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely went a little bit more in depth than I usually do with reaction videos. So I hope this is fun for you. Please let me know what you think and anything that I missed in the Easter egg. Thank you, and see you in the next video. Bye.